Hello everyone, I'm here today with Aaron Cerrone over at Mid-American Martial Arts again. And what are we working on today?
Hey guys, thanks for coming back. Appreciate everybody watching our video on the 21-foot rule. Today we're gonna use our weapon in a DryLock fashion in a blunt force manner as a blunt force weapon.
And this would be very useful in situations where, say you did spend all your ammo, or say you only had a couple shots on the gun that only had 4 or 5 rounds. This would be your backup option using the same weapon. It doesn't become just a paperweight. Now you can actually use it to protect yourself.
Absolutely. And a lot of people out there don't like to carry one in the chamber.
Yep.
And in a situation in which an aggressor is on top of you before you can rack it, that's a possibility. We have dry fires, we have DryLock, and we run out of ammo. But I think we can agree if we run out of ammo after 10 to 18 shots, it's a bad day all around.
You should probably spend a lot more time with your accuracy.
If we're still fighting at that point, we should probably hit the bricks and shoot Leather Express on.
You should just shake hands and walk opposite directions at that point.
You win today. Yeah. You win today. That's fair. Okay, so we're going to start off with just some basic, really it's close quarter combat. We're just going to be using this nice, now big chunk of metal when we think about it. Once the gun is no longer to fire a round, it's just a chunk of metal in our hand. And like Matt said, I can discard it and continue to fight, or I can use it to my advantage. So let's use it to our advantage. So basic principles, right, and how somebody can throw a punch on me or how somebody can close distance. So we'll just start with a basic punch, okay? A trained fighter will throw a nice straight punch right down the pipe, okay? Someone who's untrained will tend to loop the punch and coming over the top, okay? So now, how would we handle both? Okay, let's just start with a straight line shot. The straight punch comes, I can do a basic parry, and now I have my free hand to hit if I want, okay? Or I can parry it by and then strike with the free hand, okay? So if we just do a basic parry and hit, okay, this free hand now can probe in various places. I can come straight, I can hit the throat, I can hit the eyes, I can hit the ear, crack the jaw, I can come to the groin if I want, okay? So now, how does that apply? Well, if I'm in a DryLock situation or a misfire or I pulled and he's on top of me and I haven't gotten it out yet, I can parry, and now here comes this nice big chunk of metal where I can hit, and now I can rack, pull, and acquire.
Or pull your backup mag and reload.
Or pull your backup and reload, or kick it, right? I can come straight, parry straight to the teeth. Okay, as you can imagine, that's a lot of metal coming straight to the teeth. Now, Matt has done some training. Most people aren't going to cover and hit. They're going to barroom throw the shot, boom, here like this. But if it's a straight shot, I can parry and hit it here. If it's a looping shot, I can cover and I can still hit here. I can still hit here, disengage, rack, reload, do whatever I need to do to get the shot off. So again, on a straight line shot, I'm going to parry. I can come straight. I can come around temple, cheek, jaw, even a neck shot in a brachial stun fashion. I can come right to the solar plexus, which is a terrible shot. I can also come to the groin with it.
I can put my hand up.
In a self-defense situation, you don't care what you hit. Just hit something, right? My goal here is to avoid the shot, get them to think about something with this nice big chunk of metal, disengage, and then re-engage with my weapon, or just beat feet and get out of there.
Yeah.
Okay, now on a looping shot, pretty similar. I'm gonna cover. I still have the weapon, so I still have my solar plex shot. I got my shot to the teeth, I got my shot. I can even use the butt of the weapon depending how much you have and crack here. Straight punch comes, I'm gonna parry it out of the way. I'm gonna get my head offline a little bit. And now here comes my hook. I can go straight to the teeth, forehead, straight to the throat, solar plex. I can hit the groin, whatever I need to do, disengage, reset, and go. On a looping shot, I'm gonna cover and close distance. Now, it's important to understand, on a looping punch, there's 2 places I wanna be, either inside of it or outside of it. There's no decision worse than indecision when somebody's punching you. If I sit here in one spot, I'm gonna get clipped, okay? I always prefer or advise people to move forward. Why? I don't know what's behind me, but I do know this distance between us. And I do know that this attacker is gauging distance on how they want to hit me.
Yep.
So if I close the distance, I'm now messing up their timing, and I close the distance. And let's understand, when somebody runs into that elbow, it's like
good.
running into the corner of a table, okay? So I'm breaking up their timing. I'm putting a shock to their system. At the same time, I now have this nice chunk of metal where I can hit a shot, disengage, reset, and then go to the body if I want to, or just call it a day. I don't really want to fight anymore if I don't have to, right? We're not defending ourselves anymore. We're now, if you choose to sit there and fight, it's no longer self-defense.
Correct.
Okay, so again, what are my targets? I'm just gonna have Matt stand still for a second. I can attack the jawline, the temple, the brachial shot. Straight line, I can go straight to the teeth, to the throat, to the solar plex. You can even hit the groin. What is our goal here? My goal here is not to fight with this weapon. My goal here is to buy time, give myself some space so then I can use it in a proper manner that I want to. So that was a right-hand shot, right? Most people are right-handed. They're probably going to come with their dominant hand. But there's some lefties out there, okay? If the lefty comes and I have the weapon in this hand, it's okay, how do we deal with this, okay? Now, obviously, if the punch comes and I can get beyond it, that buys me time to go. But if they're on me quick, I still want to cover, okay? But now, here's the shot. I can come here, right? Here's my shot, or the butt of the weapon to here. I create space, reset, and acquire as I need it. I'm out. Oh, here it comes. I want to close the distance. So notice how I'm still creating this nice frame. I'm covering my head, okay? Here, boom, I create a frame here. So now my easiest shot is right here, butt of the weapon, or I can rotate it over and hit with the barrel of the slide, reset, acquire. If you need to create more space or you feel comfortable creating space, get your shot, create space, and reset. Okay, let's make an assumption I'm carrying in a concealed manner. I don't have one in the chamber, which a lot of people do for various reasons, right, wrong, or indifferent. It just is. Okay, and I'm confronted where we're close, right? We understood from our last video, the 21-foot rule, we can cover in about 1.5 seconds. Well, what if I'm 4 to 5 feet away or less? How quick is somebody going to get on me? There's no way I'm getting out. Now, listen, I know there's some folks out there that are going to type and say, I could draw that fast, or I'm a professional draw. There probably are people out there.
Maybe Pew View. He's not the only one.
Right? Yeah. But let's be honest. The vast majority of concealed carry people don't practice drawing in a quick manner, don't practice drawing from a close distance. So this applies to the majority of people. I think we can agree to that.
For sure.
I don't know what's going to happen. I maybe have a good idea, so I always want my hands at the ready. If I'm sitting here like this, okay, that might inflame the situation. We don't know. Okay, if I really want to draw, I should be backing up already and never let them get that close. But it is what it is. We're this close. Maybe I'm jaw-jacking with somebody, and here comes Matt. He's had a few too many, and all of a sudden we're this close. All right, or he tries to throw that sucker punch haymaker, so I'm here. I could draw from here, but he's also within arm's reach as well. Probably not something I want to do, right? So I'm going to close the distance. I might give a shot, and I'm going to release to draw and acquire as I'm backing up. We're here. All of a sudden, it happens fast. I cover. Okay, get those elbows up, make a nice frame. Maybe it's a quick elbow. Maybe I release to draw, and I'm here. Okay, from the other side. Boom, we're here like this. All of a sudden, here comes the big shot. Hands come up. Again, I want to close the distance because I want to get inside of this shot. Maybe give a little teaser shot here, or what we call a distract with an elbow. I'm going to release, draw, boom, and acquire. I still want to be in one or two places on this punch, inside of it or outside of it. I know I can always go forward. Even if I don't get my hands up and the punch comes and I come in, and I bump with my shoulder, right? Give a shoulder bump. Now I can draw and acquire. From the other side.
Now, one thing you never want to do is get in a fight over your own firearm.
Sure.
So, like you said, it's very important that you're not telegraphing what you're going to do. So you don't want to be sitting there with your hand on it or with your shirt slightly up, getting ready to pull it, because they're going to go for that too, and then you're both fighting.
And understand, we know there are techniques out there where you can pull, turn, and start to fire from here.
Yep.
But what's our premise? We don't have one in the chamber. Do I really want to sit here and try to rack it when it's within arm's reach? Probably not, right? Probably not.
And you're very prone to malfunctions trying to rack it from there too.
That close, right? They get their hand on the side where it happens to be. So again, I don't get my hands up this time, but here it comes. So I come in, I shrug my shoulder. So now it's just a shoulder bump. So I give myself time to pull, rack it, do whatever I need to do. Okay, guys, let's have a little fun. I know there's gonna be a lot of what if scenario people out there. What if my aggressor has a knife? All right, you can see again, we have a training blade. It's not sharp. Okay, Matt's just tough. He's got thick skin, right? So again, let's say I have my weapon out, but again, I don't have one in the chamber. So I get it out, but knowing our 21-foot rule, the knife's already out and on its way, right? So let's just go tip up. So here it comes. I got it out, but holy smokes. Okay, so now we can use the weapon, right? We're gonna do what's called a scooping or a palisade type of motion. I'm gonna hear, right? So my forearm is gonna hit and redirect weapon. Now this hand is staying up. Why? Because the knife's gonna travel and it's gonna keep cutting and I could bring it right to my own throat. So you gotta remember with a blade, unlike a firearm, anytime it's moving, it's cutting. And I can cut myself if I'm not careful by redirecting the blade into a place I don't want it. So I have the weapon out, but he's already on me, so I'm gonna scoop it, right? I'm gonna hollow out, I'm gonna hit with my forearm, I'm gonna redirect. And here it comes, so I'm gonna hit the elbow. Okay, now I can chamber and I can do what I need to do. Let's go like in a slow motion manner. Okay, from our 21-foot rule drill, Matt's already on its way and I get the weapon out and boom, I have to scoop it away. Hit above the elbow, right? The reason I want to stay above the elbow, so if the knife comes back into me, it's much, much harder, okay? I'm gonna create space, put one in the chamber, and now do what I need to do, negotiate or just fire away, whatever it happens to be. Let's go on the other side.
Now, one quick tip. If you talk to any self-defense people, you talk to anyone in the military, you're supposed to fire on the threat until the threat stops. So all these drills where you're doing like 2 shots and stopping, or 2 to the body, 1 to the head, and all those type of things, that shouldn't be your gauge. It should be when they stop.
So again, we're assuming closer quarter. Even if Matt's 10 feet away, we know I'm probably not gonna get the thing out, okay? So as I'm pulling, here comes the knife, I'm gonna scoop. I hollow out so it doesn't cut me. This hand's already up because I know the knife's gonna travel back into me. I'm gonna stop at the elbow, I'm gonna make space, I'm gonna rack to get my shot off, okay? And again, as the knife comes, I'm hollowing out. I'm using my forearm to stop the blade from coming further. And this is a nerve shot too. Anybody who knows this trained that's gotten cracked here real good, the hand already wants to open, right? So I'm redirecting and I'm stopping above the elbow. So now I'm making space to give myself time and distance to now put one in the chamber and acquire and fire if I want to. The next common movement is a slash to the throat, this diagonal slash, the most common. Same idea, but now I'm just gonna have to angle a little bit to give myself more time. So anytime a slash is coming, I'm going to angle, right? I'm going to move, ironically, with the blade, because if I'm here, I still get cut. If I turn my body, I still have distance. Let's go on the other side so they can see this better. Okay, if I try to scoop while I'm here, I'm still gonna get cut, okay? If I angle my body the slightest, now I have distance. So what I want to do as the knife is coming, I'm angling, and I'm basically doing a forearm strike. And I'm gonna scoop it away. And again, here's my safe hand. My check hand is up here. I'm gonna check at the elbow, make some space, rack, put one in the chamber, and then do what I need to do. Okay, from the other side. As I'm pulling, here it comes. Create the angle, scoop it away, check it off, create space, acquire, and fire until the threat is neutralized or stopped, as they say, right? Now, if it's in the other hand, if we have a lefty and I got my weapon out and the slash comes, I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm just using my free hand here like this. Notice it's always the back of my hand. Never palm forward, because if he pulls out and cuts out, now I'm gonna bleed out, right? Generally speaking, anytime the knife meets resistance and they pull it back, it's cutting, what we call cutting out, right? They're cutting their way back out. So I'm here. Now I can use 2 hands too. The big slash comes, I can come 2 hands. I'm still gonna scoop it away, create space, chamber 1, and then fire as necessary. From the other side, I'm pulling it out. Oh boy, here it comes. Stop it. Create a little bit of an angle. Scoop it away. Create your space. Acquire and shoot as needed. Okay, now one final scenario with the knife. The classic psycho scenario. I'm in the shower. Oh, here it comes. Of course, I was carrying the shower, right? Who doesn't? Who doesn't have one in the shower? I got my weapon out. I don't have one in the chamber. I'm just pulling it out. So now it's coming over the top. So I'm going to do the same thing, right? I'm going to guide it by. Okay, what we call an outside ride. Outside ride it. And now I know it's coming back up. So now this is where, going back to our first couple drills, I can blunt force with this, hit him, create some space, rack it, and fire. Again, from the other side, here it comes. I'm going to get out of the way and guide it by. Now I got this blunt force shot here to create some distraction, give myself some space. I'm going to release, chamber, and shoot. Okay, now I can also use the weapon side, but there's some dangers in that. If it's coming over the top, I can use the weapon side to scoop it by. But the danger is I'm near a live hand right now. I'm not saying it's wrong, right? I got to do something. I don't want to be in front of the knife, but I need to scoop it away, create space, acquire, and shoot, okay? Just understand, I would rather, anytime there's a knife involved, I'd rather be on the outside, working towards the back of the person, right? I can get my shot here, I can get my shot here, but it's very hard for him if we move over on this side. If I get on the outside, it's hard for Matt to punch across his body, very hard. But I can easily hit him here, create some space, give myself some time to put one in the chamber and shoot.
So as you guys can see, there's a lot of different situations to account for and to train, but this gives you a really good idea of different angles that things can happen at. And a lot of these things apply regardless of how they attack you. So if the person is swinging their fist or they're swinging a knife or a baseball bat, whatever it may be, the same rules apply. You want to get outside of that range or inside of that range and then use the techniques that Aaron showed.
Always think of your weapon in more than just a firearm. How else can I use this thing? We malfunction, we jam, if we don't have one in the chamber, we pull and the clip falls out. You name it, it has happened to somebody. So how else can we use this weapon? Let's just call it a generic weapon in a manner other than firing. In this case, we just did some ideas on how to use it as a blunt weapon. Take it or leave it for what it is, guys. But just some options for you to train with and some scenarios to play with.
And of course, like and subscribe, share this around to your friends. And if there's any specific scenarios you want us to run through, just let us know and we'll get it put together. Thanks for coming.